the English Premier League, of the many systems available, the 4-4-2 is the most popular. Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool, the three top teams in the English Premier League, all use this style, although all slightly differently. This video will show and demonstrate a progression of practices to help the coach understand how this shape may be employed in defending situations. Many of the principles used are soccer principles and would apply whatever system was employed. However, the step-by-step progressions will give even inexperienced coaches the confidence to go ahead and use the 4-4-2 formation with their own players in an effective way. Most of the drills and exercises shown in this video will only include the actual players involved. This is for clarity purposes, so as not to clog the screen with too many players. To start with, all defending relies on the individual player and his ability to know when and how to tackle, to intercept, to delay and not to get beaten. If the player isn't a good individual defender, he will have difficulty no matter what the formation is. Beyond defending individually, the player needs to understand his role in the team's defending, when and how to mark and when to cover and fill space. We will therefore look at aspects of defending as a unit, starting with 2 defenders and building up to 4 defenders. In the first practice, X1 and X2 defend against O1 and O2. X1 plays the ball across and follows quickly to close down the space and prevent the receiver moving towards the end or target line. X1 should move quickly, watch the receiver's control in case a bad first touch allows a tackle. X1 should also force O1 inside towards the supporting defender, X2. The supporting defender should get himself in a position where he can see both the ball and the player he is marking.
Play. In you go. Can you get in close to him? Can you get in close? Go on, can you get a tackle? Can you get in close? Can you get a tackle? Good. Can you get in close? Well done. Okay.
One movement which needs addressing is how the defender copes if O1 and O2 cross over. The correct way for the defenders to deal with the crossover or overlap run is for the defender pressing the ball to back off and track the run of the overlapping player, and for the supporting defender to close in on the player in possession of the ball. The mistake often made here is for X2 to react by running directly behind X1 to track O2, leaving O1 with a clear space to exploit by beating X1. As you can see in this example, the supporting defender follows the run of the overlapping player, which allows the player with the ball to take his defender on 1v1 and exploit the space left by the supporting defender. The area between the attackers and defenders is now increased to 30 yards. This is designed to show the defenders how to cope with the added space and slow the forwards down. As you can see, once the ball is passed to the forward, the defender makes up ground quickly and presses the player in possession. The defender then slowly backs off by jockeying and forcing the player inside towards the supporting defender.
Yes, Matt, play it in. Go on, run at him. Run at him, run at him. Good, good. Slow him up. Now you can start looking to win the ball. Can you get into the wall? Get into the ball. Get across. Okay, and rest.
As you can see in this example, if the defender rushes in too fast at the player in possession of the ball, he is likely to get beat 1v1. Close down quickly. Force the player in possession towards the supporting defender. The supporting defender should be able to see his player and the ball. Track overlapping and crossover runs correctly. We now move on to working with 4 defenders. This practice is designed simply to get the 4 defenders to understand how they need to react to the movement of the ball and the movement of forwards. This is a passive practice where the 4 forwards move the ball and make the defenders adjust their positions. The forwards can dribble at the defenders without intending to beat them. The covering players have to understand their responsibilities. The coach needs to make sure that each player fully understands the distance he needs to be from the player when challenging for the ball, the other defenders, and the man he is marking.
Okay, are we ready? Let's go then, play. And adjust. Run it forward. Good. Up to the ball. Good. Into the ball and push him inside. Go on, that's it. Go on, run forward if you want to. Run forward with it. Good. And adjust back in the line. And on your way. On your way, good. Good, well done, well done.
As you can see, this is a passive practice. Although the forwards can dribble at the defenders, they are not attempting to dribble past them. At the same time, the defenders are not attempting to steal the ball. As the ball is moved from forward to forward, the defenders adjust their positions accordingly, taking into account the position of the ball and the player they are marking. If the ball is passed to a central player, the closest defender should step up and pressure the ball, with the other supporting defenders positioning themselves a little deeper in covering positions. If the ball is passed out wide, the closest defender should slide over as quickly as possible and attempt to force the player in possession inside towards a covering defender. In this example, X1 is in a poor position. He is pushed up too far on O1, leaving space behind him that could be exploited by a through ball. As you can see, the highlighted defender is too far forward when the ball is passed out wide and not deep enough to be in a good covering position.
And play. Go on then, play. Play it out there. Good, adjust. Good. Get there. Go on, Brian.
As this example shows, by the defender pushing up too far, it leaves a space behind him that is exploited by a through pass. Moved side to side as a unit. Force the wide players inside towards the supporting defenders. Supporting defenders should cover from deep and not press up on the player they are marking. The practice now progresses to working on half a field with 4 forwards attempting to score against the 4 defenders. The attacking players are in 4 lines, numbered clearly 1 through 4 and spread across the width of the field. Each line has a supply of balls, with the front players always having a ball ready at their feet. The coach calls a number, for example 2. This means that the front player from line 2 is the player who starts the attack with his ball. He is joined by the front player from lines 1, 3 and 4 without a ball.
1. It is the same. Go on, go for it. Can we get in the back of them? Can we win it? We're not trying to win the ball.
This practice is designed to make the back 4 react quickly and accurately to wherever the threat comes in a more game-like situation. 4v4 is now played until a goal is scored, a shot is saved, the ball gets out of play, or the back 4 win possession. If the back 4 win possession, it is a good idea to give them a target, for example, chip a pass to one of the lines or find the coach with a pass. Progress the practice by adding 2 forwards, making it 6v4 and adding some depth to the attack. Players from lines 2 and 3 now drop back and act as midfield players.
Just have a listen. Exactly the same start, so you're going to come on a number, okay, whichever it is I call. But now, because we've got 2 strikers in, if you're coming from there, line 2 or line 3, you play as more as a midfield player. Line 1 and line 4, you can really get up the flanks, play as wingers, but you sit behind the play, okay, and hold. Don't try and run in front of the ball. So if the ball gets passed back to you, I'm going to be looking for the Reds now to start pushing out. Once the ball's played back, they're going to have to push out. Okay, we're clear? Just wait for the shout. Don't forget you got the strikers if you need them. Okay, 3. Yeah, go on, play it into him. Good. Good, and play. Okay, dead. 1. Yeah, use the strikers as well. Play it in. Good, get outside him. Good. Play it, good. Good, now get across together. Get across together, come in, Brian. Get across together. Okay, and relax, well done. Okay, 3, off you go. Yes, play it wide. Take him further, go on, take him. Come up, play it in. Good, offside.
The distance from the goal and the goalkeeper need to be explained to the players. If the back 4 drop too deep, they encourage shots. If they push too far up the field, as shown, they can be exploited by a through pass in the space behind them, which the goalkeeper cannot get to. The goalkeeper also has a role to play. If he is too far back near his goal line, he won't be in a position to reach and clear any through balls. However, if he is too far out of his goal, he could be beaten by a long-range shot over his head. These examples show how the back 4 can be exploited by a ball played over the top or a through ball into the space behind them.
Go, play it first time, get it back. Good, go on, John. Go with him. Well done, the goalkeeper. Go, play it first time, get it back. Good, go on, John. Go with him. Well done, the goalkeeper.
A further progression in this functional practice is where 2 midfield players are added to assist in the defending. The coach controls the start of the practice by playing a ball to any of the attacking players. The defenders must then quickly organise their shape. This is a great practice where the coach can stop the game at any time and just look at each defender in turn to make sure they know their responsibility and that they are in the correct position. This is a good practice for the coach to look at each defender in turn and make sure they understand their roles and positioning. All previous coaching points can now be reinforced in more game-like practice situations. An area of concern is on the flanks, where the fullbacks can be exposed in 2v1 situations. Idea that a player that helps the fullback is the midfield player. If the midfield player can provide support, then the back 4 is able to keep its shape and remain intact. The correct way to deal with a 2v1 situation on the flank is for the midfielder who is highlighted to slide across and pressure the ball so the wide defender can drop back and cover the overlapping attacker. Here we can see the fullback dropping off to cover the overlapping player and the midfielder sliding over to pressure the ball. If the fullback pressurises the ball, this leaves the overlapping player free to make his run and receive the ball. This situation also makes it practically impossible for the midfield player who is highlighted to make a recovery run and be able to pressure the overlapping player once he has received the ball. If the midfield player isn't in a position to run back and help the fullback, then the inside central defender needs to be ready to move across. This should produce a chain reaction where the other central defender and the opposite fullback also slide over to adjust.
Okay, let's go, yes. Play it, yes, go on Josh. Good, well done. Good. And they're tight. That's okay.
As you can see, when the ball is played out wide and the fullback moves wide to cover the overlapping player, the central defender slides over to press the player inside with the ball, and the right fullback slides over and marks the other forward. What is vital is that the fullback does not allow the overlapping player to go free. Such an action turns the whole team and causes confusion. It is impossible in this situation for any defender to adequately cover this run and prevent a cross going into the box. The fullback should track the overlapping player. Ideally, a midfield player should slide over and engage the player in possession. If a midfield player isn't close enough, the central defender should slide over and engage the player in possession. If the central defender slides over, so should the other central defender and the opposite side fullback. It is critical that the back four play together as a unit. In this example, 09 makes a bad run into space A before 011 passes the ball. X2 has the option to maintain his position and stay level with X3 and X4. Doing this, he allows 09 to run past him, as 09 will be in an offside position when the ball is passed to him. It is important that the back three defenders communicate, hold their line together and stay level. They should understand that it is okay to allow the attacking players to run past them as long as the ball is still in front of them and hasn't yet been passed. As you can see from this side angle view, if the defenders hold their line and allow the attacking player to run past them, he is a good 6 to 10 feet offside when the ball is passed. In this example, X3 and X4 are not in a good position as they are deeper than X2. Therefore, 09 can run behind X2 before the ball is passed, receive the ball in space A and still be in onside position.
Okay, yes, play it. Good, go on in through. Shoot. Okay, finish it off.
As you can see, if the supporting three defenders don't communicate and stay in a line, it makes it easier for the attacking team to run behind the defenders and find holes where they can receive passes behind defenders and still be in an onside position. When one defender presses the ball, the other three defenders should stay flat in a line. Communication is critical so the defenders can defend as a unit and not individuals. It is okay to allow attacking players to run behind the defenders as long as the ball hasn't yet been passed. The space between the fullback, X4, and the central defender, X3, is also important. As you can see in this diagram, if the central defender isn't close enough to X4, the left fullback, it allows the player in possession to make a pass into space A for a forward to exploit with a well-timed run. Here we look at an example where the central defender slides far enough over so that he is able to block the pass made by the wide player in possession of the ball. The back four will also have to deal with an aerial threat many times during the course of the game. The key to defending against an aerial attack is the covering position of the three defenders supporting the challenge so that one lost header does not lead to a strike on goal. As the diagram shows, if X5 challenges for the high ball, the supporting defenders X2 and X6 should drop back so they're in a good position to get to any loose balls or flick-ons first. As you can see in this example, even though the forward wins the header, the two covering defenders dropped back while the ball was in the air and were able to get to the ball first. If the covering defenders don't drop back and stay flat as shown here, there is a good chance the opposing forward could be first to any loose balls or flick-ons. Here we look at an example of what happens if the defenders stay flat. As you can see, the forward wins the header and another attacking player is able to beat the defenders to the ball, and a goal-scoring opportunity is the result. One other common problem with aerial challenges is for defenders to go for balls outside of their zone. In this example, X3 has decided to move inside to challenge O10 ahead of X6. This leaves a big space in which O7 now finds himself. If X3 wins the header, then they may just get away with it. But if O10 is able to flick on towards O7, then this could cause problems since X6 would have difficulty getting across to cover O7. Let's look at an example of what can happen if defenders move to challenge for headers out of their zone. As you can see, the left fullback decides to challenge for the high ball. This should have been challenged for by the nearest central defender. The forward wins the header and the wide attacking player now finds himself unmarked and has a free run at goal. When defending high balls, the covering defenders should drop back while the ball is in the air. Whenever possible, don't go out of your zone to challenge for high balls. A further progression for working with the back four defenders is a full field or three-quarter field game. Three midfielders start on the goal line and pass the ball into two forwards on the halfway line, who are guarded by four defenders. When the ball is passed in, the three midfielders join the two forwards to make a 5v4 game. Once the attack ends with a shot or a loss of possession, the three midfielders on the opposite goal line pass the ball into their two forwards and the attack goes in the opposite direction.
Good, play. Good, play. Unlucky. Yellows, off you go. Good. And play. Good. Can you get around him? Can you get an overlap? Is there an overlap? And play. Clip it in. Good. Play. Good. Play. Unlucky. Yellows. Off you go. Good. And play. Good. Can you get around him? Can you get an overlap? Is there an overlap?
The ambition of every coach is to construct a team where every player is comfortable in possession of the ball. Therefore, when the defending is done, the defenders should be able to possess the ball and initiate attacking plays. In the following examples, we will look at Ashley Cole of Arsenal, Gary Neville of Manchester United and Rio Ferdinand of Manchester United, and how they all have different abilities and tendencies. For clarity purposes, we will only show the players involved. First, we look at Ashley Cole, the left fullback for Arsenal. Cole has an appetite to go forward and make runs with and without the ball. The highlighted player represents Ashley Cole. As you can see, when he makes his attacking run, the central defender slides over into the left full-back position and the central midfielder drops back into the central defender position to keep the back four intact. Manchester United also have full-backs with the freedom and the appetite to go forward. In this example, we will look at the right full-back Gary Neville and how David Beckham creates space for Neville's attacking runs. The highlighted player represents David Beckham. Watch how his run inside takes his marker with him, leaving room for the right full-back, representing Gary Neville, to make his forward run. Sometimes the player marking Beckham will stay to block the run of Gary Neville. This then leaves Beckham free to receive a pass and continue the attack from the middle of the field. As you can see, as Neville approaches with the ball, Beckham makes the same run inside, but his marker stays wide to block the run of Neville. This leaves Beckham open to receive a pass from Neville. Central defenders also have opportunities to attack. In this example, we look at what happens when Rio Ferdinand of Manchester United chooses to make an attacking run between the space of the two opposing forwards. The highlighted players represent midfielders Roy Keane and Paul Scholes. As you can see, when Ferdinand starts his attacking run, Keane and Scholes move wide and forward, taking their markers with them. This then creates space for Ferdinand to exploit with his attacking run. Of course, if either of Keane's or Scholes' markers choose to engage Ferdinand, this will leave them open to receive a pass. The basics of defending with the midfield four are the same as with the back four and can be practiced using the same practices as shown earlier in the tape. Once the coach is confident that the back four defenders are sure of their roles, he can start to work with the two central midfield players. It is important that the two central midfielders, X8 and X6, work together as a unit. In this example, if X8 moves across the field and X6 doesn't, it leaves a big space for 03 to make a pass into the forward 09. As you can see, the highlighted midfielder stays still and doesn't move over along with the other midfielder. If the central midfielders don't move together and work as a unit, it leaves gaps for the forwards to receive passes. Although the central midfield players should move together, if X6 gets too close to X8, this leaves the opposite flank exposed to a quick switch pass. Let's look and see what happens if the two central midfielders get too close together. As you can see, the second centre midfielder moves over and is now too close to the other midfielder. This allows for a quick switch to the opposite flank. Ideally, X8 positions himself to block a pass to 09. At the same time, he accepts that a pass can be made to 011. If that happens, X2 closes in on 011 and X8 slides over to support. As illustrated, it is critical that the two centre midfielders work together as a unit. If they do so, it denies space for passes into the two forwards. If the two centre midfielders can do this, it slows down the attack and buys time for other players to make recovery runs into defensive positions.
Play it. Good. Can you win it? Good, you've won it. Okay.
These situations can be practiced in an 8v6 game, as shown in the diagram. Using this practice, the coach can create situations that require the centre midfielders to move and work together as a unit. The The two centre midfielders should work together as a unit and move side to side. They should not get too close together or too far apart. The practice can now be progressed by adding 2 wide defending midfielders and 2 attacking centre midfielders for a 10v8 game. Special attention can be given to the midfield 4 as a unit. Again, this is a good opportunity for the coach to stop the practice at any given time and ensure that each midfielder is correctly positioned and understand their role. When the attacking team has possession on the flank, the wide defending midfield player should try to force the ball inside. Forcing the ball inside means that the ball is usually played in front of the midfield 4 so they can defend and possibly gain possession of the ball.
Okay, and play. Come on, game speed then, in. Yes. Come on, Eric. Come to him, Eric. Good. Go on, Eric. Win it. Good.
Forcing the ball to be played inside allows the defender X3 to stay in position. If the ball is allowed to be passed wide to 07, as shown here, the defender X3 has to move forward to defend the ball, which then allows for a forward to exploit the space left by X3. If the ball is allowed to be passed down the flank, it can cause major problems for the defenders.
Okay, get wide. Good, there we are, okay, and he's got space and he's got the ball.
Wherever possible, the ball should be forced inside and not allowed down the flanks. To help understand the different responsibilities of the midfielders and how and who they should cover for, the coach can employ the following practice for his players. In this practice, the coach designates one of the midfield players as the out-of-position midfielder and has him stand next to him. In this example, X11 is the midfield player out of position. The coach then starts the practice off as before, but holds X11 until the ball is in play for a second or two. By starting the practice down the right side of the field, X11's defending side, the coach now can work with the remaining midfield players on how to cover for their out-of-position colleague. As you can see, when the coach passes the ball wide, the 2 central midfielders slide across, as does the opposite side midfield player, X7. Therefore, when the coach releases the midfield player, he slots in on the right side of the midfield 4. This is a great practice for working with the midfield 4 and helping them understand how they should react if they are pulled out of position.
So yellows, can you go and score? Go and score, yellows. Right, Matt, get yourself back in. Go on, Matt, get in there. Go on, Matt, get in there, Matt. With him, Matt. That's it, well done. Good, he's nicely in position now. And rest, and rest.
If, when the ball is passed out wide, the opposite side wide midfield player, X7, has maintained his position and not moved over, then X11 should look to fill in the gap between X7 and X4. Here we show the wide midfield player who is highlighted maintaining his position and the midfielder held out by the coach filling in the gap. By repeatedly asking different questions of his midfielders using this practice, the coach can help his players adjust and make correct decisions.
Okay, Jordan, play. Stay there, Matt. Yes, Matt, back in. Go on, back in there. Go on, get in there. Good, and play. Play. And you're back together again.
The recovering midfielder should choose the correct gap to fill when making his recovery run. We will now look at the German international and Liverpool midfielder Dietmar Hamann and his ability to read and react to balls played into the forward's feet. Quite often, Hamann is successful at reading and intercepting passes played into the forwards as shown in this diagram. The player representing Hamann is highlighted. Look and see how he reads the pass and is able to intercept the pass. Obviously, Hamann isn't able to intercept every pass, even if he is able to read the pass. In these cases, when the pass is successful to the forwards, Hamann is quick to close the forwards down and pressure them. Here we can see how difficult it is for the forward to do anything positive with the ball, or even just maintain possession with a defender tight behind and a Hamann pressuring from the front. There are a number of variables to consider when examining the defensive role of the two strikers. First, the coach has to decide how his team will defend. When discussing the back four, we mentioned defending high and pressing as a team strategy, or defending deep and denying the opposition space behind the back four. We will examine both options. Whatever the situation, the idea is for the two forwards to make the play of the opposing team predictable. In other words, attempt to force the opposing defenders to play the ball in a certain direction or to a certain area of the field. If the forwards can do this, it makes it easier for the midfielders and defenders to read and anticipate, and therefore more likely to force a turnover and regain possession. The first strategy that the coach might adopt is for the forwards to try and force the defenders to play it wide to one of the fullbacks. Here the two forwards are successful in forcing the defenders to play the ball wide. Once the fullback has the ball, the forwards block off the pass back to the central defender, forcing the fullback to play the ball forward. As this is happening, a defending midfield player, who is highlighted, closes down on the wide attacking midfielder, leaving the fullback in possession no option but to hit a long hopeful pass and give possession away. As with the two centre midfielders, the two forwards need to work together as a unit and make sure the fullback cannot pass the ball back to the centre defender or even the central defender receiving a pass from a midfielder as shown. It is also important that the midfielder, X11, pressurises O2 and doesn't allow a pass wide to O7. Therefore, the options for the wide fullback are reduced. This gives us a good chance for the defending team to regain possession. Let's take a look at this one more time. Force the ball wide to the fullback. Don't allow a pass back to the central defender. The two forwards should work together as a unit. The midfielders should mark up tightly. A second option would be to try and give the centre defenders possession of the ball and then force them to play the ball through the middle. When the wide defender receives the ball, the forward should block forward passes and force him to play it back into the middle to one of the central defenders. As soon as the central defender has possession, the two forwards should pressure from each side in a pincer movement and force the centre defender to play up the middle. In both these examples, it may not be the strikers who directly win the ball. What they do achieve, however, are limited options for the players in possession, and this greatly assists team defending. force the wide defender in possession to play the ball back into the middle. Force the central defender in possession to play up the middle by using a pincer movement. We will now look at the role of the second forward X10 as shown in this diagram. Here O2 has possession. X9 may not be able to close immediately but is edging closer. X10 has two roles to consider. First, to prevent a big change of play to O3 which could wrong foot the defence. Second, to limit the space of O8 and O11 to drop deep to receive the ball. Here we can see what happens if the second forward moves too far over. When this happens, it leaves his team vulnerable to a quick switch pass to the opposite flank. Here the second forward maintains a good position by not sliding too far over. By doing so, he is able to break up the big switch pass to the opposite flank. Another benefit for the second forward in dropping back in a covering position is that the central defenders tend to drop deep to make themselves available for a trail pass. When they do this, it leaves the second forward unmarked. So an intercepted pass by the midfield players or a headed clearance by a centre-back puts him in an ideal position to take possession, turn and start a counter-attack. We can now see this in action as the midfielders regain possession and pass quickly to the unmarked forward who then starts a quick counter-attack. A great practice to teach your team the basic positions of the 4-4-2 formation is the one shown here. 3 attacking players pass the ball side to side and the defending team moves and adjusts their positions accordingly. The practice is done on a half field. The 3 attacking players are not trying to dribble past the defending team and the defending team is not attempting to steal the ball. As the ball is moved around, the defending team move and keep their shape.
Good, play it again. Shift across.
To progress this practice, 2 attacking players are now added to give some depth. 1 attacking player plays in front of the 4 defenders and the other attacking player plays in front of the 4 midfielders. The objective is for the attacking team to pull the defending team out of position, forcing them to lose their shape. The defending team cannot tackle but can intercept to win possession.
Don't go too deep, Matt. Right, come out, Matt. Matt, come out. Come out, the strikers, come out a bit. Can we play into can we get it into the striker? We can't get it in there at the moment. That's good. That's good if we can't get it in there. Out again. Bring them out. Bring it out. Bring it out. Bring it out. Come on, Reds. Out you come. Good. Can we switch it? Hold your ground, Jordan. Hold your ground. Move it again. Jordan, deeper.
This practice is a good opportunity for the coach to check that his players understand their positions, roles and responsibilities, not just as individuals but as part of the team shape.
Right, come out, Matt. Matt, come out. Come out, the strikers, come out a bit. Can we play into can we get it into the striker? We can't get it in there at the moment. That's good. That's good if we can't get it in there. Out again. Bring them out. Bring it out. Bring it out. Bring it out. Come on, Reds. Out you come. Good. Can we switch it? Hold your ground, Jordan. Hold your ground.